Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's session. My name is Gayatri, and I'll be your host and moderator for the webinar today. Before we begin, a few ground rules. All of the participant microphones and cameras have been disabled for this session so that we can continue without interruptions. But we do want this session to be interactive. So you will notice a Q&A panel on your bottom right of the screen. Please type in your questions there. Anytime, I'll be compiling them behind the scenes, and then we'll have a dedicated Q&A session towards the um, end of the session, the last 15-20 minutes. So our theme for today is from AI curiosity to AI readiness. Over the past couple of years, I think almost every enterprise leader has crossed the threshold of AI curiosity. So we have experimented with AI tools, attended introductory talks, explored platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, and seen enormous excitement around AI. But then curiosity is not enough to create business outcomes. So today, organizations are moving beyond the basic what is AI conversation into the real challenge, right, which is now AI readiness. So understanding how to adopt AI meaningfully across their workflows, decision making, operations, and enterprise functions. At the same time, there is a growing gap in the ecosystem. The available information today is either too technical or heavily tool focused. And then we are surrounded by so many inputs, tools, there are rapid developments. And then there's a need to have that genuine curiosity to channel it. It needs a direction, a structure, and a practical learning path. So to guide us through this today, we are absolutely delighted and honored to have with us today Dr. Gaurav Kumar Nayak. Dr. Nayak is an assistant professor at the prestigious Mehta Family School of Data Science and AI at IIT Roorkee. His core research focuses on generative AI, including diffusion models and LLMs, alongside highly critical, efficient deep learning techniques like knowledge distillation, continual learning, and federated learning. With his academic foundations from IISc Bangalore and advanced postdoctoral research experience at the University of Central Florida, Dr. Nayak brings an extraordinary level of research depth combined with real-world AI expertise. His work aligns perfectly with our focus today, bringing or bridging high-level science with practical enterprise relevance for business leaders. Dr. Nayak, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights with our community today. I'll hand it over to you. Welcome, Dr. Nayak.
Yeah, thank you, Gayatri. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I welcome everyone to this webinar. So let me share my screen first. Is it visible? Can you just confirm once?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So the theme, as Gayatri mentioned, we are going to talk about AI curiosity to AI readiness, right? And we want to see how we can build up certain capabilities for the enterprise and use AI for that. So let me begin with a very simple question that we have heard about generative AI, but what is the actual meaning of generative AI in a very simple word, right? So generative AI, as the word suggests, there are two words, generative and AI. And AI is artificial intelligence, whereas generative is to generate some new content, right? So maybe let me use pointer, that will be better. So new content we want to generate. So the goal is that we don't want to generate anything that we already seen, something which is unseen that we want to generate, which is new. And what we want to generate, we are interested in generating different kinds of data. Let's say, for example, we can be interested in generating text data, audio data, image data, or video data, right? So the different kinds of data that one can be interested in generating. And in order to generate this, we are using AI. And this kind of AI, which helps us to generate the new content, is called generative AI. Here we can see some examples of AI generated text, some audio with some video and some images as well. So maybe let's take a deeper look. Like for example, this is an image generated using Gen AI model called Midjourney. Okay, so here we gave this as an input, this text as an input, Albert Einstein in a deep conversation with cat in a cafe. So you can see the model has generated this image and it knows what Albert Einstein looks like, what a deep conversation looks like, what is a cat, and also how a cafe looks like, right? And then here we give this prompt, create an essay about industrial revolution in the USA, right? So here you can see that we gave this to ChatGPT, and now the ChatGPT gave us an essay, and it knows how to start an essay, then talk about the details of it, and then at the end, how to summarize the essay, right? So it knows about the flow of an essay. Here we have given a prompt, a football player reading a newspaper in Picasso style to DALI 3. DALI 3 is another model which generate images using text prompt. You can see that it understands how a football player looks like. And so you can see some t-shirts and some shorts are there. And it also understands how the newspaper looks like and the meaning of reading a newspaper. And overall, he also is also putting football because he's a football player. And then the artistic style of Picasso has also been portrayed. Then this is an example where we give writing a sonnet on generative AI and actually write sonnet in a sense where the last two words of consecutive sentences match and rhyme. So you can see create, great, muse, choose, wise, rise, thought, sought, vast, surpassed, prose, flows. So what is an AI, right? I mean, how AI is actually able to do all these. So what is an AI? So very broadly, I mean, I would say that the humans are naturally intelligent. I mean, we believe we are naturally intelligent, but machines are not so. And we want to make them artificially intelligent, right? And hence we call this term as AI, right? So AI is nothing but building machines to make them as intelligent as us, as human beings. And the machines should be able to act and think like humans. Okay, so that is the goal. Whereas you can see that it's not so different. I mean, we have been using AI things. We are all surrounded by AI. Many of us may be using Instagram. So the filters in Instagram uses AI. Many of you may have used face recognition systems. So there also we have used this biometric devices using AI. Then after that, you may have heard about IBM Chef. So here also the chef uses AI for making things. Then disaster prediction. So using an aerial image, if I want to predict how much land region is there, how much residential colonies are there, or roads are there. So particularly helpful. I mean, you see some wars are also going on, so one can analyze and do the ground localization of which things are where. Then also it is used in cancer detection. For example, many of the doctors nowadays are also using AI, where they use AI to do some kind of prediction and detection of cancerous cells and all. So how they are able to do that? I mean, we human beings are able to learn through our experiences, right? Through our past experiences, good or bad, we learn that. However, machines do not have those experiences. and machines only learn via data, right? So this is the only thing through which machine learns. Whereas machine, when we are saying to machine of learning, so AI and machine learning are not exactly the same. There is some difference between AI and machine learning, right? So this is a big picture. Like AI is a big umbrella. Okay? AI is a discipline. Like for example, science is a discipline, right? Sorry, physics is a discipline of science and all. So inside AI, there is machine learning. Right? So what machine learning, how machine learning allows the uh, computer models to learn, right? Rather than memorizing things, it has the ability to learn. So what I mean that earlier people used to do explicit programming. In the sense, people used to do some rule-based systems that if this and this is there, then this is the output. But if some unseen input comes or unknown situation comes, then the model does not know how to react. However, machine learning, we train the model, right? So there is the ability to learn. So it can, uh, given some unseen or unknown situations, it has the ability to give predictions on some unseen data, right? So for example, these are the two broad categories of machine learning problems, like supervised model and unsupervised model. So supervised model means the data is labeled, fully labeled data is there. So for instance, here, total bill amount, right? This was our data, where we had this pickup and delivery also as other features. And our goal was to predict the tip amount, how much tip amount the person should give. So that data was already given. Now our goal was that using this input output relationships, we want to, given at test time some bill amount, we want to predict what could be a good tip amount to predict, right? Now, in unsupervised model, we only have the data, but we don't have the corresponding label. We only have the data which is unlabeled. For example, we have these features, income and years at a company of some individual, right? And what we did was we tried to analyze this data and try to draw some insights from it. So here you can see that uh, just by plotting it and seeing that the trend looks, I mean, positively correlated. As the more years you have, the more income one can get. However, there are some anomalies also you can see. For instance, this guy, right? I mean, he spent less time in the company, but his income is more, right? And there are some more anomalies, like this guy, he spent more time in the company, but has less income, right? So these kind of analysis or some kind of clustering one can do, similar things together, dissimilar things, I mean, far apart. So these kind of analysis one can do through the unsupervised model. So in supervised model, what we do typically is that there is some data, we give it to the model, and the model predicts something. So we match the model prediction with respect to a ground truth. As I told, that in supervised learning, we have the ground truth. So we match it with the ground truth, and we measure some error. And our goal is we want to update the model such that this error is minimized, right? Whereas in unsupervised learning, given some data, we learn the model, and our goal is that we want to learn. For example, if the data is, let's say, of dogs, so we want to see that, okay, what are the features of a dog? Let's say a cat, I mean, sorry, the eyes, nose, and tail, all other things. Now, once we know that how a dog looks like, now at test time, if I can use this knowledge in order to generate also, right? So that the generated data should have the similar features as what I have seen in the training data. So apart from supervised and unsupervised, there are other things also in machine learning umbrella, which is reinforcement learning and deep learning. So reinforcement learning is that, for example, if we play games, right? So so while playing video games and all, we don't know exactly how to reach to the end point, but we are given some feedbacks along the path. If I take some good step, I'll get some positive points. If I take a bad step, I get a negative point. So with this guidance, I'm able to learn the game, how to play the game, right? So that kind of external feedback that I receive, right? So that kind of framework is called as reinforcement learning framework. Whereas in deep learning, is more about taking inspiration from the human brain. So as you can see, this is how the biological, our human brain are composed of neurons, right? So you can see that these are two neurons, neuron one, and there's another neuron, which is neuron two, right? And our goal is to mimic this human, right? So, uh, so here you can see this, that this neuron, uh, so it receives inputs through dendrites, and then this in the soma cell body, we compile all the inputs, we sum up all the inputs, and then these neurons are connected through synapse, and after processing the inputs, we pass the output to the next neuron through something called as axon, right? So inspired from the human brain, in deep learning, what we do, we also kind of have several neurons. So these are the neurons in the input layer, right? So yeah, these are the inputs, which input neurons, which forms the input layer. These are the neurons of the outputs forming the output layer, and these are in between are the hidden neurons, right? So this is this kind of architecture, which is inspired from human brain, is called as deep learning. So why we are discussing all these is because generative AI is is a subpart of deep learning. Okay, and hence that's why I went towards from AI to ML to deep learning and then to Gen AI. Okay, so how this Gen AI is slightly different from, or how what is the different in Gen AI is that in deep learning there are two kinds of models. So one is called as discriminative model, and the other one is called as generative model. In discriminative model, our goal is just to discriminate the instances. So for example, we have two instances and we want to discriminate whether this is of one class or this is of other class. Example, if instance is a cat or instance is a dog, right? We want to differentiate. Whereas in generative model, we want to create a new instance. So for example, given some instances of a class, I want to create a new instance. So for example, given images of a dog, I want to create a new dog image, right? So that is the difference. That here we want to create a new instance, and here we want to differentiate the instances. So here you can see that given a dog image, we want to differentiate whether it's a dog or a cat and all, right? So that is what discriminative. Whereas generative, given image, we want to generate another image of the same class. So in traditional models, what we have been doing in software development and all those things is we have some training code, we have some labeled data, we build a model, and we use this model to do some tasks like prediction, classification, and clustering. Whereas in generative AI, there, we develop a model called foundational models. So these models are different from traditional models. Okay, so just like foundation, right? So when we build a house, we lay the foundation, right? When we make a bridge, we lay the foundation. So foundation is something on top of that you can build any other stuff, right? So these are the backbone, right? You can make many other things on top of the foundation models. So what I mean is that same model can be used for multiple tasks. So how to create this foundation model is, so in order to gather, have the foundation, we first gather lot of data, right? I mean, all sorts of data that we have on internet, we take it and dump it at one place and then train a model, right? Because we want the foundation model to do multiple tasks, so we try to take a bigger model, as big model as possible, so that it has the generic intelligence as good as possible, right? And then once we train this big model on this big data, then this model has a general purpose capabilities. That means it can be tuned as per whatever task that we want to do, right? So we can just tune it to our task or plug into our task and use it. Okay. So that's what I mean. You see that this AI model was a Gen AI model, and that was trained on multiple different kinds of data. And once it has been trained on that, now user asks about, let's say, a cat. Now it spits out all the information, whatever it knows about cat. So now how we interact with this kind of model is via something called as prompt. Okay. So prompt is nothing but an input to this model. And this prompting is a way through which we can control what we want as an output. right? So suppose if we want a summarization thing, then we say summarize a text. If we want some writing kind of a task, then we say something like a generate a poem or this kind of things, right? Or if we want some keyword extraction, then we have to say in the prompt that give me a list of keywords. Okay. So Gen AI now, you guys now will be comfortable in saying that Gen AI is an artificial intelligence that creates new content, right? But how it creates new content? By learning from the existing content. So from the existing content means the training data, right? So by learning from the existing content, let's say, for example, existing kind of set of dog of images, we want to learn how to create a new dog image, right? One sec. Yeah. So here we show that the model types. So suppose when text is an input, the different kinds of model types can be there, right? So for example, here we have this text as an input and text as an output. So what kind of models are there? Let's say, so text to text is, let's say, for example, is image machine translation, right? Language translation. So here, let's say English, we're converting it to German or French, right? Or they can be a tasks like image text to image, right? So this is like upper 90 and we want to create a image corresponding to that. There can be tasks like text to video. So text is there, we want to get the video, right? There can be tasks like text to 3D, right? Or they can be tasks like text to task. So for example, if I say that summarize, find and summarize recent news, so what the model should do is it should go to the browser, type in about the international soccer, get all the news, and then summarize it and give me that. So these are some just we saw that when text is an input, right? So like that, you see, as of now, I mean, throughout the years, the generative AI landscape have evolved. Earlier, people were doing with textual tasks only. Now they have moved towards, let's say, code tasks that they can build up codes also. Then image generation, then speech, then video, then 3D models. And nowadays, people are also using it for across domains, different domains, like, for example, music generation or biology, chemistry. In fact, last year itself in New Lips, there was a paper that came where they generated protein synthesis using generative AI model, right? So now I'll just give you some use cases, like for example, in business, right? How people are using it. Like for example, in marketing, people are using it to create media posts or captions or logos or advertisement posts. And for example, Waymark, right? Waymark is a company which uses Gen AI to create videos for the brand, right? In human resource also, you see people are using it, HR people are using it for creating pre-screening tests, for drafts, for job descriptions, or even to summary reports. And in fact, LinkedIn is using also GPT-4 for writing. So Gen AI model also used in finance. I mean, many of you may be knowing about Morgan Stanley and also it uses Gen AI for wealth management, right? So nowadays there are several companies in finance that do, wealth management expertise that they services that they give, right? So how to when to invest, how much to when to exit and all those things, right? In stock markets or mutual funds and all those. So they're also in finance. People are using this AI techniques or Gen AI techniques. In IT sector also, for example, Stripe, right? It uses Gen AI to do query processing and all. In sales, people are using it for creating brochures or maybe like proposals or personalized emails. Some company specific use cases, like for example, in education sector, many of you may have heard about, let's say, Khan Academy and all. So they have these kind of, they've developed some kind of chatbots where users can improve the learning experience. They can interact with the chatbots. Or nowadays, many teaching materials are also prepared through Gen AI models like quizzes, exercises. In gaming, for example, Minecrafts and other games uses Gen AI model. In product designing, for example, IKEA is a very famous company which uses Gen AI models to create designs. So now I'll just give one case study just to tell you, like, for example, as a faculty, Many of us as a faculty also start startup, right? So how can I use Gen AI models to create startup, right? So what is the first thing that I do? So first thing is to come up with a problem statement, right? So suppose if I want to come up with a problem statement saying that I want to create eco-friendly energy solutions, right? Energy solutions in the sense that it can provide energy, but then eco-friendly. So suppose if in US I can get a lot of funding for this eco-friendly solutions. Uh, for example, many of the people who are, let's say, electric cars and all those, they're getting a lot of funds there. So suppose if I want to start a startup there, right? And I'm just giving an example only, right? So what is the, suppose if I have this problem statement that I thought about, now what is the first thing I will do before starting the startup? So the first thing would be that I need to do the research about it. I need to get to know what are the different energy solutions available in the market. So the first thing that intuitively the users will do is to search it on Google, right? But you see what the problem is, that users will try to go through, I mean, so many links will come up, right? Some links will be useful, some links won't be that much useful, some information, some link, some information, some other link, right? So rather than that, suppose if I just ask in ChatGPT, environment friendly energy solutions, it gives me all the informations about different energy solutions like solar panels, wind panels, or geothermal, all in one place, right? Now, other thing is I also want to validate whether this idea is good for me or not. In a sense, how much ROI I will get, return I will get, right? How much competition is there, right? So that also I can ask here, saying that act as a business consultant or a mentor and evaluate my business idea. So now it gives me information about my ROIs or market potential, competition, challenges, right? So based on this, suppose I made up my mind that, okay, indeed, this is a good idea and I should start the business. Now, what is the next thing I will do, right? So next thing is I'll need to select some name for my company, right? And it takes a lot of weeks to select a name. It has to be unique and not taken, right? But whereas there is a tool called Business Name Generator, there you can just give something like environment friendly energy solutions for home and click on generate. It can give you suggestions that which the names which have not been taken, and also gives you the flexibility to get free logo, right? So suppose if I like some names like the energy futures or something, and I click on that, and I also give a brand uh, logo, let's say powering homes with care, and click on next. And I say I will start a business soon, choose icons for me. And yeah, so you can see that the logo is ready with the name um, and the company name and the logo, right? The next thing we can download as well. So the next thing is that I need to register the company, right? So how do I need to register my company? So for that, I mean, one can use, let's say, Copilot or so. So here I say how to register a company, and then it gives me a lot of information. And the good thing about Copilot is that it gives me some links also, right? Suppose if, I mean, it gives citations also. Let's say if I want to know more about one, right? So one is about this source. So I can read more about that source, right? So it gives me the sources also, and I can get to that source to know more about it. And then the next thing is I want to build a website, and you can see that durable is one, uh, I mean, uh, model which allows you to generate the website. Okay. And I just click on the what type of business, click on next. I say the location, I say the name, and you see this website is ready. And one can click on the edit section if you want to edit something.